A pleasant good evening to all our viewing audiences, those in Trinidad and Tobago, the Caribbean, and internationally. And welcome to another episode of Sunset on Plus TV. I'm your host, Randolph Bhoodoo, and with me here this evening is Renato Hassanali, Carla Williams-Johnson, and Madonna J, our new co-host. Welcome, Madonna.
Hi.
Madonna, tell us about yourself.
Hi, well, I'm Madonna J. I am a radio announcer and program producer. Also, I do sales. I'm a sales strategist. I love interacting with persons. I love working with teams, and I'm very much goal-oriented.
We're so happy to have you with us here, Madonna, and we look forward to having many more shows alongside you. So, Carla, how are you this wonderful evening?
I am alive, I am well, I am bright and shining. Things are good today.
Good. Good. Renato, how are you?
So far, so good. Had a restful weekend.
Nice.
A cookful weekend.
Okay. So who's dancing for us this evening? You all know that today is International Day of Dance.
Oh,
That's
great.
Renato, you want to put down a dance for us this evening?
I don't think our audience is ready for that just yet. Not yet.
So to all our dancers across Trinidad and Tobago and everywhere else, we want to wish you a very happy International Day of Dance. But on that note, guys, you know what I'm going to do for one of our shows in the coming days? I want to call my personal friend, somebody who's in my network, Mia Motley, the Prime Minister of Barbados. What do you all think about having her on the show?
Of course, why not? That'll be fantastic.
I think you have an extensive network.
But you see, I can prove it to you, you know. There was one time I was at this place having some drinks with friends, and she was there, and I kindly asked her security if I could get a picture with her. I then got that picture, and now she's a part of my network. What you all think?
Wow, now I know how to get my network broadened.
But that, all jokes aside, that's actually the first topic I want us to delve into this evening. Networking. What is it really? Because, you know, so much persons like myself will come and be like, you know, I know this person. I can get in contact with this person for you. And they will go on and on about the amount of people in their network. And then you have to ask the question, is it really part of their net worth? In terms of, can they follow through in every person that they say they know to get them to do something that they want? So let's start off this conversation here. How do we define a network? And who wants to take that, Renato?
Well, defining a network is a very difficult thing. But I think essentially your network is the number of persons that you can maintain contact with, that you have amicable agreements with, right? And many times I think people look at the network from an angle of who can I get something from?
Right.
And I think that's a bad way to look at a network.
Okay.
Right? A network has to be persons you have or are able to develop genuine connections with. It doesn't necessarily have to be with the expectation of receiving something. It could very well be your friend network, an acquaintance in your network. So you're not necessarily trading or transacting business or transacting some sort of transaction, as it were, but you know, it's somebody that you know that you can interact with. You know, your neighbor could be in your network. Your neighbor, you know, your friend, your neighbor's friend could be in your network as well. Yeah.
Carla, what about segments? Would you say that when we look at networks, that there is a part of networking that contains segments? And if yes, what and how would you define those segments?
I like that you said that, because that's actually what I was going to say. There's a saying that we have in Trinidad is not who you know, it's who know you, right? So we can say that we're in a network, but if people don't know who we are, then
like
you know,
me and Mia Motley.
I didn't say it, you did. But there are different segments, because you have your friends network, right? And then you have your family network, and then you have your business network, and then you have your colleagues network. And sometimes they overlap, right? Sometimes they overlap. But there are boundaries that, you know, you're not going to cross. So there are different segments to what's networking. And as you mentioned before, it's not, you go into a network with an open mind. You do not go to look for something. It cannot be transactional. I love that word that you used. You really have to go knowing that you have something to offer and be open to whatever is given back to you, because that will determine whether you stay in that network or not, whether you fit into a particular network or not, because there are some unscrupulous people out here. And you don't really want to consider them
part of your
network.
So Madonna, I want you to chime in here from the perspective of a radio announcer. How do you draw the line in terms of, because you would have things that you need to bring to the radio station, to your program and that kind of thing. How do you draw the line for yourself personally between who you know you can get to do certain things or come on shows as opposed to persons you might know about, but you can't get them to do things as willingly as somebody in your close network?
He said something very so much important about the genuinity, because you'd want that circle, that network, to be persons who are genuine as well, you to them and they towards you, because sometimes persons become attached because they probably want to be on air, they want to be seen, so you have to be so careful in drawing the boundaries and knowing who is coming in to add value or who is just coming in to be a straggler, you know, that kind of thing, and it would have those. So that discernment is pivotal in the industry in understanding who you'd have close to you in your network and in getting persons. Thank God, because you're out there, you find a lot of persons sometimes will call you, you know, to be on, and sometimes it may be a good topic, then you would streamline it to persons who would bring value, who would be experienced in the field, qualified in the field, so that persons would get substance and look forward to coming back to receive from you in that.
Yeah, so I like that, because we got two different aspects there, guys. We got the side of when you are creating a network, and what Madonna just brought in is when a network is coming to you. And from the two sides, there was a constant trend in what we spoke about, and it was trust. Because when Madonna just spoke, she said, based on a certain topic, a lot of people will reach out to you, and you're going to want to streamline them. That's trust. Based on relevance, based on if it is they're just there to get something from you or whatever else. So from the flip side now, and this is where we're going to take this conversation, if it is you're building a network, then you have to make sure you're somebody that's trustworthy. And that you're streamlining yourself, so to speak, as that genuine person, that if I want to get into Carla's network or Renado's network, he's going to see me as somebody that is trustworthy, that you can see as genuine, that I'm coming in this just to meet you, and afterwards we could probably see if there is some kind of mutual benefit. But if we had to look at some steps to being that type of person, what are a couple of steps you would outline, Renato?
So from my perspective, I think, and to touch on what the ladies were saying today, screening is important, right? But screening not just from a sense that, one, this person is going to add value to me. In many instances, you need to set things up so that you can also add value to others. And that is part of the network. Because one of the key pivotal points in a network is that it's not concentric. It has to be multi-nodal, as it were. So you have a network, I have a network, she has a network, but then some of our networks may overlap, right? Some of it may divert very, very greatly, right? But at the end of the day, it's a network of persons. And in some cases, you will add value to someone else's network as well as they will add value to you, right? So one of the things that I also look at is when you create a network, it is you can then teach somebody something as well as somebody can teach you something, right? So whether it be in business, whether it be in networking, as it were, so we also introducing someone to somebody else, you know. So from looking at it from that perspective, it has to be to and fro, not just one-sided.
I agree.
That's true.
I completely agree, but I want to also touch on the fact that your family could also be your network, and it may be difficult for you to, I want to use the word, separate or divorce yourself from a situation because they're family and they're blood. But I want people to understand that it is necessary to have trustworthy people in your network that are family. And if they're not, even if they're a family, you have to distance yourself as much as possible. You cannot be in a situation where you're recommending them to something or lending them money or something along those lines if they're not trustworthy. Just the fact that they're family should not be enough for you to just basically do whatever you need and say, okay, they're part of your network. No, you have to have that boundary somewhere. Because you have to protect your own reputation as well.
Definitely. I think that's a quintessential point that she just made with regards to trusting, with regards to understanding persons in your network as well. Because, like she said, you would want to recommend someone, and then that's your name as well. And you don't want problems in the network because the person didn't maintain the values that you would have. So like-minded persons in the network is really, really pivotal in moving forward and in connecting them with other persons, having the same goal.
Yeah, I think so. So guys, the topic right now is networking, and you all are part of our trusted network. So we're trusting you that you will see us in just a couple.
When we let go of this obsession of who we think we are, that's when we can really embody unconditional love.
My name is Jesse McBarrow, and you are looking at Mending Minds. Tell us your Mending Mind moment.
I will say set goals.
A lot of people get so caught up in the what, they forget the why. There's this fixation of this is what I'm going to do, and they forget why. You pursue that in the first place.
There's this crazy story at the beginning of the Bible. We have Adam and Eve, and they're in the Garden of Eden.
And everything in this garden is great. It's exactly as it should be, except there's this one tree that they're told by God not to eat from because it's dangerous and it will kill them.
So that's it. Avoid this fruit tree and we're fine.
Right, it seems pretty simple. But in this garden, there's a snake. And it starts telling a different story. It says that if you eat of this tree, it's not going to kill you. In fact, it's going to make you become like God.
And Adam and Eve, they believe the snake and they eat the fruit.
And because of this, the goodness of the garden is tragically lost, and evil and death enters into God's good world.
Hey, this is Tim.
And this is John.
We think one of the best ways to understand the Bible is to trace the key themes from its beginning all the way through to the end.
We also make videos that walk through the literary structure of every book of the Bible and how it relates to the whole.
JoinTheBibleProject.com.
Buenos días and welcome to the Emily Mais Talk Show. My name is Emily Mais. Tell me a little bit about your life in Venezuela.
I am more Trini than any Trinidadian.
You can see the effort of the Trinitarian people to learn Spanish too. They try to tell me something and listen, hola, whatever. They try to communicate in Spanish and they feel proud when they get it like, hey.
People have to try more to learn the language.
Tell me about the food. How was your experience with the food in Trinidad?
To our viewing public, what is your network and what is its net worth? How do you organize and understand your network? So in the conversations we had before, we looked at two basic principles: trust and being genuine in terms of building a network. And before we went to the break, my co-host, they so avidly discussed family, and now thinking about it, that's the foundation of any network. Think about when you were small,
Yes.
the cousins you were allowed to play with, or the cousins in quote unquote, because they're not actual family, who your parents exposed you to, was as a result of trust and as a result of these people being genuine. So essentially we all, through our childhood experiences and seeing that family dynamic, understand the elements of networking, and you as well understand the elements of networking. But what I want to discuss at the last part of this topic is being deliberate, because whether, yes, we want to be genuine at all points in time, but there will always be times when we want to achieve something. So for instance, I know that Carla knows somebody who then knows somebody that I want to know for the specific goal of X, Y, and Z. How do I ensure that I put forward myself as trustworthy and genuine, even though I know that I have this goal in mind in terms of expanding my network into yours?
Well, I think it's okay to be intentional in terms of building your network. It is okay to have goals and desires. The issue, as Janelle said, is to not be transactional with it.
Okay.
You might be wanting to grow your network to achieve a particular goal, But who's to say that when you do meet this friend of a friend, that the goal might change?
Yeah.
The conversations might be different. You have to be open to these types of things. As a publicist, I can tell you, I meet a lot of people all the time, and they want me to help them get on this TV show or get them onto this radio program. And sometimes the thing that they want to talk about may not necessarily be what they want to talk about.
Okay.
But take the opportunity and you now become a source and a person that these people can now rely on to get additional information, right? And thereby expanding your network.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to bend a little,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and go with the flow.
So
So
you're-
you have to be intentional, but being transactional is not the way to do
So
it.
you're growing with the goal as
Yeah.
you move through
Yeah.
the network. Okay, what about you, Madonna?
You know, as she was saying that, I just remember thoughts about networking. You can help and you can have everything in life that you want if you would help enough people. So that tied into what she says.
Yeah.
And it's not just about getting from them, but helping them. So that talks about even compromising sometimes, that you may not be in that position to really want to do this, but because you know it would help build the program, then you say, sure, I'd come on board and you'd assist. And that is where the genuinity you spoke
Yes.
about would come in. So we realize, you know, you need to test the temperature of the relationships when you're building a network as well.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree. So in terms of building that trust then, and you said it earlier, Renato, and I want you to expand on that, you have to offer something as well. You have to see what value I could give to that person. But how can I go about figuring out that? Same scenario. It's, as you said earlier, nodes. It's 4 or 3 nodes down the road. How do I figure out how I could add value to that person and all the other nodes to the contact that I presently have?
And I think that is definitely a communication situation. You have to be very open and transparent about what you do, what you can do, and if there are any expectations, right? Aside from the expectations and the transactions, one of the things, as Madonna had referred to, the trust and the discernment that one has to have, and as you just said, it test the temperature. You know, that it's very important as well in dealing with networks. When you're creating your own network or interacting with other person's network, that you understand where in your network this person is going to lie. You know, because like for instance, you drew the analogy, Carla, of your cousins. Your cousins are your first friends, right?
Yeah.
Most times. And your family many times are your core network. But then if you look at persons who are maybe business acquaintances, maybe the person who owns the shop down the road, those would be further out in your orbit. So they don't necessarily form part of your core network. And they may not be the persons you're going to then ask, well, I need a little favor here. You know, but you'll ask your cousin, you'll ask your aunt, you ask your mom, you know, but that you may not go by Uncle James down the road and be like, here, listen, I need you to look here, I need you to take care of my kid for a little bit, you know. You know, that may not be the case. But so I say that to say this, you have to be aware and cognizant of the persons in your network and where in your orbit they fall. And that way you now know how you can add value to them as well as they can add value to you.
Agreed.
Excellent, yeah. So I am sold, guys. I am quoting with you all. We are going to write the book on networking. All these good ideas, especially that term, test the temperature. I think I'm leaving that one with this. As you go forward, know what value you can bring, bring trust to the table, ensure you're genuine, and definitely test the temperature. And with that, there is a culture shift that's happening across Trinidad right now, and it's a good one. And I'm going to hand over to Renato to tell us about it.
So, hi everybody. So, something I noticed this week, I was looking at television, it was a wonderful story. Corpus Christi College had its career fair. And this year, so this is their second career fair, and this year they turned it into a career and entrepreneurship fair, which I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah.
So we're not just talking about professionals and going and finding a job. What can you do? What can you build? And what the principal was saying, and that she noticed, is that there were so many students as well as teachers who already had a side hustle. There were students who were making soaps, there were students who were doing nails, there were students who were doing makeup, and then the teachers also had something going on, but they were trying to hide it, right? Which she found was interesting, and I thought it was so commendable of her to say, well, okay, you guys have a side hustle going on. Sure, come and, showcase your goods, showcase your services, sell what you can. And it really created a wonderful atmosphere in the school, and for the parents, the teachers, the PTA was very much on board, and it was a wonderful, I thought it was a very good initiative from Corpus Christi College to have that open culture, that open air. And the reason I bring it up is because I think we live in a culture where sometimes it's almost frowned upon to have a side hustle, because it's expected that you do your 8 to 4 job, and then you just go back and you go back home and you live your family life, But especially since the pandemic, people have had a side hustle. People have been growing. They're very cognizant of their time. They don't necessarily want to work overtime, but they definitely want to do something else, do something that they enjoy, and then possibly make some money out of it, because let's face it, things are a little bit hard right now.
Yeah.
Things are a little bit hard.
I would definitely describe that in one word as healthy.
Yeah.
And it's refreshingly healthy, because we know what inflation is, how prices are rising across the board. And to hear a principal, even though she's not the direct person paying the teachers, to still encourage it.
Yeah.
You have a side hustle, you're doing this, no problem, come. Think about the reassurance and what that did for their self-esteem. Knowing that I need this probably to manage bills and that kind of thing, and it's being welcomed now, it's not being frowned upon.
Yeah.
If we could get this culture to spread, that would be good. That would be good. What could be, okay, so this is a seed. How could we take that seed and replant it in different places to make it spread, to make people encourage this more often?
I am loving what they did, because it helps our young people understand that they could expand their borders, their dreams could be fulfilled. And I remember Steve Harvey saying that he always wanted to talk. He was talking a lot in class, and the teacher was like, you need a hush. And in doing that, his dream was fulfilled, because now he's a multi-million-dollar talk show host. And that teacher who said you would never be on TV, he said he bought her a television for each one of her rooms so she could see him everywhere she go in her house. Wow. So I am saying it's great to encourage that, because not everybody could be a banker, not everybody could be an accountant. And in COVID, we realized how much we need each other, no matter what you were doing, right? So I think it's an excellent idea that should be carried on to all the schools where we would have what we need, because they are future anyway, so we need to invest in them.
Definitely. I think there definitely needs to be a shift in the way that people think about entrepreneurship.
Correct.
There needs to be a shift in the way that people think about side hustles. Back in the day, that was unheard of. You're working your corporate job, and you said it, you're expected to work at 8-4 and go home, but when you go home, most times it's not family, right? They send you work at home, they send you an email, you still have a report to do that's due the next day. So when you're supposed to be spending time with your family, you're still working. So the idea is that you give your life to the business, your corporate business. I'm like, I am so happy that this is changing, because I remember when I started my first my side hustle, I was a marketing person. I mean, I morphed into a publicist because I was always good with the media, my media people. But I started off doing marketing and stuff like that, and that was like totally frowned upon. And I didn't do it on their time, but for whatever reason, they felt like my focus would be less on them and more on my business, when I was actually managing it really well. And the funny thing about it is that their business actually closed down, because they were minding my business instead of minding their own business, and their business actually closed down. And it's just amazing that you're so gung-ho about not allowing people to make an extra dollar, that you're willing to squash their dreams, put them down, stifle them. It's just amazing. So I love this initiative. I wish we could have more of it. I wish we could go into more schools, because these children are talented.
They are.
I mean, they are the social media people, the TikTokers, and I mean, they can do so much that we only now started to dream about. So I want to see more of this.
Yeah, for me, I could see where it could even become a testable area.
Yeah.
You have an evaluation, introduce it into CXC entrepreneurship as a subject. Because I'll be on my own life. I've always had good ideas. But I've been working since I'm 13. I worked on a farm, I worked in groceries, these places to help put myself through school because my dad died and whatever else, right? But had I been exposed, let's say, to the dynamic of you can create ideas, you can make your business at this age. I didn't realize I could do a business for myself till later on in life, 25 plus. Look at the amount of years that passed. My brain didn't change. I always had that innovation background in me, the way I could think and look at things. But the guidance needed to be there. So in as much as this is an excellent idea, it's beyond the healthy, I think in the next step as well, on Corpus Christi, you can look at it, make it testable.
Yeah.
Make it testable, inject innovation into it so that they don't just grow up now thinking that I'm going to do somebody else's idea. We spoke about it a couple episodes ago in terms of innovation. So teach them now the elements of looking at their product, breaking it apart, and finding the innovation in it.
Yeah,
The innovation in it, and make that testable. I am putting that challenge out to the examination bodies, because think about you as an interviewer or looking for a person with the ever-changing market that we have, Renato. Somebody you see with the subject area, entrepreneurship, knowing that they could have innovated and passed this person, how would that affect you as somebody wanting or not wanting to hire them?
Correct. And you see, it shows a gap in our curriculum, in our education curriculum. Now, at a post-secondary level, you do courses in entrepreneurship. But it shows now clearly that it has to go down to a secondary school level, and in some cases a primary school level. Now, I do know there are programs in place, so organizations such as NEHUS, they do have programs in place for secondary and primary school students who are entrepreneurial bound, right? There are also some schools that I am aware of outside of Corpus Christi that did start something very similar to that. You know, I know QRC has their career day every single year, and they bring in persons who are non-corporate to speak to their students, right? Fatima has done exactly the same thing. So it is something that is buzzing in the air, but it really does reflect so well on the individual to fill that gap. And to talk about what you're talking about, making it testable, the government has put in place the CVQ qualifications, and I love it. It's a little bit onerous on teachers, and I think any teacher that's doing CVQ will tell you that. It's very onerous on them. But it really does...
What is CVQ, Renato?
So it's Certificate in Vocational Qualifications, right? And what that does, so it tests things like home economics, food and nutrition, welding, carpentry, things like that, which works really well. And the thing that I admired most about the Corpus Christi students is that while tech is the buzzword and everybody wants to get into technology, most of them were doing work with their hands. So you have estheticians, you have persons who are doing facials, you have persons who are making soaps and candles and making sewing, like literally sewing. And I'm like, that was what I thought was the most impressive thing, because it really does show the ingenuity and the creativity of the persons that that we don't necessarily capture in our traditional educational system.
Yeah. In terms of not making it an onerous thing, as in that difficult on teachers to evaluate, right? My perspective is this. In Spanish, part of the exam is speaking the language, which is the orals.
Right.
In science, part of it is doing labs and that kind of thing. You should have a final examination for them to speak the language of business. And doing a business pitch and everything that comes with it, the speaking the language of business, that's something less stressful now. It's done in one day. And you can evaluate them now and give them a final mark just along with all of their marks. So I want you all to think about that. Keep it. What are your thoughts? And we will be with you in just a couple.
My name is Jesse McBarrow, and you are looking at Mending Minds. Tell us your Mending Mind moment.
I will say set goals.
A lot of people get so caught up in the what, they forget the why. There's this fixation of this is what I'm going to do, and they forget why you pursue that in the first place.
First book in the Bible is a book you've probably heard of. It's called Genesis?
Genesis comes from a Hebrew word. It's pronounced reshit, and it just means beginning.
Now, there's a lot of stories from the book of Genesis, and it's easy just to pull out a specific story and try to tell you what it might mean. But we think the best way to understand this book is to look at the book as a whole and show you how the whole thing is designed.
Buenos dias and welcome to the Emily Mais Talk Show. My name is Emily Mais. Tell me a little bit about your life in Venezuela.
I am more Trini than any Trinidadian.
You can see the effort of the Trinitarian people to learn Spanish too. They try to tell me something and listen, hola, whatever. They try to communicate in Spanish and they feel proud when they get it, like, hey.
People have to try more to learn the language.
Tell me about the food. How was your experience with the food in Trinidad?
This is another episode of Life Matters, and I am your host, Latina Matter. Give us some insight into what is Miss Earth and what is so special about this pageant.
Okay, so like many pageants, there are a purpose behind the crown. So Miss Earth in particular, it's all about the awareness of the environment, and I'm basically an ambassador informing everyone to take care of their environment and their surroundings.
Take this moment, guys, to advocate the importance of mental health awareness, ensuring that this is something that is started to be placed in schools, in these school curriculums.
Yes.
Why aren't we having easy therapy access to schools, to parents, to the children? You know, that is something that we need to get some hands written about, right?
I said, look, I cannot help how I feel. Out of all of us, I'm the only one who isn't married, engaged, or has a child. Besides, you keep sticking out. I'll be real cool watching this while I meet you know.
Like I could use all the help, Smalley.
No, I could.
I could see that. But we all could use our help.
So all the young people of Trinidad and Tobago and anywhere listening to us, what is your side hustle? What does the inner entrepreneur in you want to do and want to develop? I'm saying to you now, the climate is changing. We want to commend again Corpus Christi on that amazing initiative with having the entrepreneurship part of Corretti. And we're saying to all young people, get involved. You're never too young. This is actually the best time because you have a lot of spare time. And that's time to stop you from being busy and for you to start being productive. I remember a time, guys, I had just started to work. 19, 18, somewhere there. And I was busy. Everybody asked me, what's going on with you? I'm busy. Don't ask me why I'm busy. I'm busy. Now, fast track a couple years later, I seldomly use that word. I have a couple, maybe 4 or 5 different things on my plate work-wise. I now have a family. I have an older mother who I obviously am going to make time for and that kind of thing. And I don't use the word busy. And I find now, when I compare then to now, I'm a lot more productive now. And that's what I want us to talk about, the difference between busy and productive. You all know how common that terminology is. I'm busy. I can't make the time, I'm busy. How do we differentiate being busy from being productive and move from one to the other? Actually, let me start with, do you all agree with me? There's a difference between being busy and being productive.
Yes, we do agree with you. There's a big difference between being busy and being productive, because sometimes people actually use busy as an excuse just to get away from a situation and shy out of it and that kind of thing. But productive, you really see the results of what you're doing at that point in time. And if it's a goal you set out and you accomplish it, then you feel good about that. So once there's production, there must be something that you would have accomplished at that point in time. And sometimes people are so busy that they're busy doing nothing.
They're busy being busy.
They're just busy
They're
doing,
busy being
you know?
distracted.
They're busy
Yeah.
being busy. I feel like we've glorified the use of the word
Busy.
busy, that it has lost its real meaning. You know, we put a measure of importance on the word busy, because somehow when you tell people you're always busy, it makes you feel like, you know, you're important. You can't be touched, people can't talk to you. When really and truly you're just running on a treadmill. You're not really doing anything, right? So there is very much a difference between being busy and being productive. Being busy is just, you know, as we say, spinning top in mud. You're just moving, you just go in, and whatever happens, happens. And I mean, some people are busy scrolling on TikTok, scrolling on Instagram. They're busy doing that. But being productive is, okay, at the end of the day, when I look back, what have I accomplished? Am I any steps closer to my goals, my business goals, my personal goals, my family goals? Can I look back at the time and say that I have actually spent it in a way that made sense and has helped me move the needle forward in my life in some way, shape, or form?
So based on what you're saying, and I love everything that you said, can we then say that, because you said saying that I'm busy gives us short-term satisfaction, it makes you feel important, like you're accomplishing something. Is the terminology I'm using becoming addictive? And if it is becoming addictive, then what are the remedies to get around it? Because think about it, I say I'm busy, I'm projecting that I am going somewhere, I am accomplishing things because I am so busy. But 2 months, a year down the road, when it is I don't have anything to show for it, what's the fallout of that?
And that's exactly it. Now, mind you, some people could be busy and productive at the same time, right? But the fact is, in order for you to be productive, you have to have accomplished something. And then in order for you to accomplish something, you need to plan it, prioritize it, do all the necessary things to achieve your goal, right? And I think one of the tricks to being productive rather than just being busy is to prioritize.
Agreed.
You need to do the things that you know will have the most value and the most impact in your life or in somebody else's life or in your job, if that's what you have to do. I think one of the techniques that I love most about when I do work, because you have to be self-disciplined when in work sometimes, you really do need to prioritize and look at the things that have to be done first, second, and third. And you can't then get busy scrolling on TikTok, you know, and then you can't be like, okay, time waster, you know, and those are the things that you need to be very cognizant of if you're gonna move from being busy to being productive, and not just gonna be busy and productive, or just busy, as you rightfully say.
Yeah.
So instead, you should be busy being productive.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying. Let's break it apart now and look at some of external first and then internal factors that sometimes hinder this. So we're going to touch back on networking for a minute. From a very tender age, I heard the terminology of the 4 Ds of persons you don't want in your life. Look at that, the 4 Ds of persons you don't want in life. Distractors, dodgers, dreamers, and drainers. So distractors, obviously, you know you want to get to the goal. So let's simplify. The goal is you want to pick a mango, and there is somebody next to you saying, but look at the orange tree across there. What about the pumpkin tree down the road? And you have the rod in your hand and you're ready to pick this mango. That's a distractor.
Yeah. It is.
A dodger now is, listen, come and help me. The rod is too heavy. I just need your help to stand up or to catch the mango when it's falling so it doesn't get soft. Now, I'm going by the orange tree, boy. I'll come back and check it. I'm going by the pumpkin tree, that kind of thing. The dreamers now. I wish I could get a mango.
If only.
Yeah, if only I could pick that mango. The rod is right there.
Yeah.
But the dreamers are actually the most secretive person that could pull you back. Think about it. We've all met them in our lives. They always have a dream. They want to do this, they want to do that, and nothing
And they
happens.
never do it.
And you sitting next to them means that you end up in the dream world as well, and you're out of reality, and definitely the dreamers.
They're in abundance.
I just wish I could have a mango. So from an external standpoint, how do we examine our networks now and try to not root out, because these people could be family, they could be close friends, but manage them in such a way that they do not interfere with our productivity?
I don't understand why we can't put them out if they're I'm trying to understand. Why not? I mean, at the end of the day, right, you have to set your boundaries. You have to know what you're willing to accept from what you're not willing to accept. You also have to know what you're going to be focused on, what your dreams, what your goals, what your ambitions are. So if you know you want to pick that mango because that mango is just the best thing that you could possibly have in your life.
Yeah.
It should not matter family, friend, or acquaintance that is in your way. Because if they fall into these categories, then you're not going to get that mango. And then you yourself will fall into one of these categories. Probably the dreamer of wishing that you did do what you were supposed to do to get that mango. So you have to set your boundaries and you have to be firm on your boundaries. We tend to want to bend because, we have a relationship with these people, right? They're maybe close siblings, we have a blood relationship, or you probably know them for a long time. We tend to want to bend for them.
Yeah.
But you have to be hard and fast. We have to be clear and we have to say, no, I want to do this. Nothing is going to stop me. And sometimes people who are strangers end up becoming your family in your network to help you get that mango.
Boy. I am really agreeing with what Ronaldo said with regards to planning. I think planning is important, even in our daily lives, even with work, and we want to accomplish a particular goal. For example, I would have, at one point in time in my life, been dealing with customers, clients that I would see. So I would set out from the morning, okay, I would see 100 persons today. And with that, because I plan to do that, anybody would come and say, Madonna, no, I need to, by a certain time, finish. So focus was very, very important in order for you to understand you will become productive and you would see the goals accomplished because you planned that, and then you accomplish the goal because you stayed with that tunnel vision. So I think having that tunnel vision, sometimes we can't allow the distractors and all the others to come and sway us from accomplishing the goal, Yeah.
Yeah. And to pivot off your point, two things that I wanted to bring to light at this point. One, in managing, because you spoke about boundaries, managing your network, you really do have to understand who you're keeping at arm's length away, who you're letting into your circle, who you're going to consider your core, right? And those, as I say, the drainers and the dreamers, sometimes it's good to have a dreamer in your circle. But that dreamer doesn't necessarily need to be that close into your circle that they now impact on you picking that mango. They could be around preparing and planning how to pick the mango, right? And then from looking at it from another perspective is that in many instances, one of the things I've learned when you develop in your network is that you're at the center, but you also in your network have to have people who are above you, who could then bring you up. But you also have to have people who you also bring up.
Yeah.
So in that case, when you see somebody who is then, okay, you know what, their head is in the clouds, that's your opportunity to then bring them into reality and then teach them something new.
I love that. It's a different take on that because when I learned this and it stuck with me for so many years, it was how to avoid them. And Reynaldo now is positioning it in terms of how to use them along the way.
Yeah.
So I'm bringing it back to the same mango story. The person who wished they had a mango, the dreamer. Hold on, I'll get it for you. The dreamer. You hear their plan and you move forward. But you can't stay there, you move forward. The dodger. I'll meet you by the orange tree just now. The distractor. Hold on, I'm coming. And maybe as he said, instead of picking one mango, you pick 5. One for you and one for each of those persons.
Why not?
One for each of those persons so they know what the mango is. And even if they're still stuck there, you got some ideas from the dodger and the distractor that there is a pomsite tree and an orange tree and more fruits that you can get. So
we could make chow.
Yeah. And now
Why
we can make chow. Perfect thing for Trinidad. Bring it all together because that's our culture. I think for the viewing audience, let's discuss the benefits of being productive. Because we know all the elements. Being busy over a prolonged period of time will mess with your self-esteem. It will mess with your confidence. That lack of growth and achievement could lead to health problems, you overeating and these kind of things. So what are the benefits somebody should look for to make them want to go over the hurdles of being productive? Because it's difficult. Being productive is difficult at the start. But what are the benefits?
I think the notion of being productive means that you have to consistently bet on yourself every single time. You have to consistently be in not necessarily a positive mindset, because trust me, sometimes as you're going along, negativity can seep in, but you have to be focused on your goals. And I think one of the best byproducts, or the best end results, I should say, about being productive is the fact that you are moving towards your goals. You can now look back and see how far you've come, and you can educate other people on how you did what you did, how you manage, help them prevent the hurdles that you went over, the distractors, the drainers, and all these other people, how to navigate through life. Because as Renato said, it's all about giving back. You are carving this path for yourself, moving forward towards your goal, but you're not leaving people behind, right? You have to help people, and you can now help them by helping them understand, this is what I had to go through, so you don't have to go through it. You can now navigate and jump over and get to where I am much faster.
Madonna, but even with the tunnel vision that you spoke about, which is important, I think, how do you merge what Carla just said and still ensure that you help people as you are laser focused and you're moving on towards that goal?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because Ronaldo said something again which was so pivotal with sometimes aligning yourself with people that are better than you are. Because many times people have the concept, oh, I good enough, and they feel threatened by somebody that the reality is other people have skill sets that are better than us, and we could learn from them. And if we could only understand that, that would help us grow. But I think there's always barriers where people don't want to learn, and they think, oh, who he feel he is, and that kind of thing. When he knows what he's doing, and we could learn from him. And I think if we understand that we can learn from others and grow, then those people will come with us. Once they have the mindset to learn, then we can all move forward together.
So you're only your best self when you consistently know that better can be done.
Yes, I love that.
You're only your best self when you understand that better can be done. And we want to create that culture for you, that culture where you own productivity. Forget about the today. You mightn't have it today and you want to sound busy, but don't sound busy, be productive. Bet on yourself. Surround yourself both with people that you can help and with people that can help you. Use the 4Ds, the dodgers, the distractors, the dreamers, and these persons. Get the good from them. Don't see the glass as half empty, see this half full, and pivot on what you can get from them. And live a productive life, because there are so much benefits to your health, to your mental, when you're productive. And with that one, guys, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
I said, look, I cannot help how I feel. Out of all of us, I'm the only one who isn't married, engaged, or has a child. Besides, you keep sticking out. I've been real cool watching this while I meet you know.
Like I could use all the help slowly.
No, I could.
I could see that. But we all could use all the help.
First book in the Bible is a book you've probably heard of. It's called Genesis.
Genesis comes from a Hebrew word. It's pronounced reshit, and it just means beginning.
Now, there's a lot of stories from the book of Genesis, and it's easy just to pull out a specific story and try to tell you what it might mean. But we think the best way to understand this book is to look at the book as a whole and show you how the whole thing is designed.
What are some of the fun ways you spend time with your family?
Promise yourself to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind.
Just wraps it up nicely with God, nothing is wasted.
When we let go of this obsession of who we think we are, that's when we can really embody unconditional love.
My name is Jesse McBarrow, and you are looking at Mending Minds. Tell us your Mending Mind moments.
I will say set goals.
A lot of people get so caught up in the what, they forget the why. There's this fixation of this is what I'm going to do, and they forget why you pursue that in the first place.
Buenos días and welcome to the Emily Mais Talk Show. My name is Emily Mais. Tell me a little bit about your life in Venezuela.
I am more Trini than any Trinidadian.
You can see the effort of the Trinitarian people to learn Spanish too. They try to tell me something and listen, hola, whatever. They try to communicate in Spanish and they feel proud when they get it like, hey.
People have to try more to learn the language.
Tell me about the food. How was your experience with the food in Trinidad?
There's this crazy story at the beginning of the Bible. We have Adam and Eve, and they're in the Garden of Eden.
And everything in this garden is great. It's exactly as it should be, except there's this one tree that they're told by God not to eat from because it's dangerous and it will kill them.
So that's it. Avoid this fruit tree and we're fine.
Right, it seems pretty simple. But in this garden, there's a snake. And it starts telling a different story. It says that if you eat of this tree, it's not going to kill you. In fact, it's going to make you become like God.
And Adam and Eve, they believe the snake and they eat the fruit.
And because of this, the goodness of the garden is tragically lost and evil and death enters into God's good world.
Hey, this is Tim.
And this is John.
We think one of the best ways to understand the Bible is to trace the key themes from its beginning all the way through to the end.
We also make videos that walk through the literary structure of every book of the Bible and how it relates to the whole.
JoinTheBibleProject.com.
This is another episode of Life Matters, and I am your host, Latina Matter. Give us some insight into what is Miss Earth and what is so special about this pageant.
Okay, so like many pageants, there are a purpose behind the crown. So Miss Earth in particular, it's all about the awareness of the environment, and I'm basically an ambassador informing everyone to take care of their environment and their surroundings.
Take this moment, guys, to advocate the importance of mental health awareness, ensuring that this is something that is started to be placed in schools, in these school curriculums.
Yes.
Why aren't we having easy therapy access to schools, to parents, to the children? You know, that is something that we need to get some hands written about, right?
You're back on with Plus, Sunset, the evening show, where we analyze and discuss topics on current events, news, and everything related to you. The best discussions, you find us here every day at 6 p.m. Monday to Friday. And with that, we want to have a little local current news event. I'm stuttering here because it's a really sad thing. With that, I don't think I could even talk about it, Carla.
So we know the topic on everyone's lips is this shark attack in Tobago. It was really tragic. Happened, I believe it was on Friday, last Friday. Reports say that a 64-year-old British man is literally receiving critical care as he was attacked by what reports say is a 10-foot shark in the waters of Scarborough. He did receive life-saving medical care, and from what I understand in today's report, he is up, he is talking, he's recovering, he's communicating, so he has been salvaged, he has been saved. But as it stands right now, all the beaches have been closed. Storby, No Man's Land, Pigeon Point, and just last week we were talking about the decline in tourism in Tobago, and then this has happened, and this is and from what I understand, it's more than one shark in the water. There's at least two. So how can we recover from this? This is a major crisis to our tourism industry, especially as it's on the decline.
And the video we have on screen, guys, is actually a demonstration, an example of what it would look like if it is a shark were to attack you. But what would be the cause of this?
So based on, and I mean, I don't think anybody could definitively see, but sharks, they hunt. And once they're hunting, they don't normally come this close to shore because remember, sharks hunt for larger mammals, which would be like sea lions, large fish, things like that. But unfortunately, it seems that in their hunting now, they seem to be coming closer and closer to shore, which is very uncommon. Yeah. So it really is a matter of sharks doing what sharks do, which is they are predators and they're looking for food. So it's not that they're doing anything that's necessarily wrong or bad or out of character, but they're hunting. It's very unusual for them to hunt or come across humans because usually humans are bigger and they see humans also as a threat in the water, but then in the water as something like a 3-meter shark or a 10-foot shark could see that as possibly another little seal or another sea lion or something of that sort. You know,
is it that it was hunting or it was provoked? Because I'm thinking, no, because the man was severely damaged,
Yes,
but
he
none of
was.
his limbs were taken away. So was this a fight? I mean to say, because if it is we're looking at predators, once they taste blood and they're hungry, they're not going to stop until they get what they want.
Agreed.
And from what it is I read, correct me if I'm wrong, even though he was severely damaged, he didn't lose any limbs. No limbs were taken away.
No, I believe he did lose a couple of fingers that were reattached. But I don't know if that was from the shark or from the thrashing. I'm not quite sure.
I mean, we may not be able to answer, but it is a thought process. Was this shark actually hunting, or was this shark provoked by something else? But then there's the other side of this now that was trending all over the place with the initial reward that was offered for the capture of the shark.
Okay.
Madonna.
When I saw the reward, I was really happy for my fishermen that they were going to get $10,000. I didn't think they would, try to get all the sharks from the water and say, yes, this is the one. But, I was happy for them.
So you were disappointed when I got recalled?
Yeah.
For me, though, they would have brought a shark. Probably not the
They
shark.
would have brought multiple sharks.
Yeah, there might have been 100.
That reward was really a knee-jerk reaction.
It was.
I mean, there was no plan. There was no, they didn't know what to do. And it just seemed like the right thing to do at the time.
Emotions would have been high.
So, I mean, in further, thought process. Good sense prevails.
Of course, I'm glad for that because you could clearly tell it was emotional. And thinking in the mind of the decision maker before this is a tourist. You are days away from jazz festival that is to be held at Starfish Hotel where the incident happened. Your emotions are going to be high.
Yeah.
And obviously, where understanding can be lent, you still have to be more deliberate in your decision making. Because based on global statistics, there are only 63 unprovoked shark attacks per year worldwide.
Yeah.
Not Caribbean, not Trinidad, 63 unprovoked shark attacks worldwide. Let's say this reward was not recalled. Think about what the possible fallout could have been on the natural food chains in Tobago if we removed a substantial amount of sharks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could have had a massacre of sharks. That's what would have happened. And I mean, yes, unfortunately, bacon shark is a staple in our diet, but it's not necessarily that they go on a mass expedition to catch a ton of sharks. It really is a balance, and that's why in the ecosystem it really does have to have a balance.
Correct.
And hunting, humans are, as far as we know, humans are the only natural predators to sharks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because the fact that we have lionfish, for instance, all over the world is because we disrupted food chains and they were allowed to overpopulate. Yeah. And if we do the same thing, we could have a bunch of animals that are becoming overpopulated and it will lead to damage in the coral reefs and so much other things. But guys, with that one, we have to bring it to an end. All good things come to an end. Guys, we had such a good time.
This is another episode of Life Matters, and I am your host, Latina Mata. Give us some insight into what is Miss Earth and what is so special about this pattern.
Okay, so like many pageants, there are a purpose behind the crown. So Miss Earth in particular, it's all about the awareness of the environment, and I'm basically an ambassador informing everyone to take care of their environment and their surroundings.